My one set of grandparents came from Germany. My grandfather, Louis Levy, came from a place, Eschwege, north of Hanover, a small quaint town. He met his wife Agnes, who came from Latvia. Goldinga was the place she lived in. And she met Louis in South Africa, and they lived in a place called Clan William, early 80s or 90s. Agnes was living in Paarl at that time, in Cape Town, in the Cape Province, and then they got married in Paarl. And I think my grandfather, we're not quite sure why, but his family sent him from Germany to South Africa. We sort of think he may have been a bit of a black sheep, but we don't know in the family.
Was anybody there yet, or was he the first to go to South Africa?
He was the first one.
Okay.
And in fact, when his mother died, he and his wife and 2 children went back to Germany, and they wanted to stay, but the family said, no, go back to South Africa. And I said to my cousin last night, it was fortunate, otherwise we wouldn't be here.
That's right.
So, and then my mother's family, I don't know a whole lot from. She came from Lithuania. And that was also a story because her husband, Robert Geen, they were married, she had 2 little boys. He went ahead to South Africa and he was supposed to earn money and send for them. And he didn't send for them and didn't send for them. And she was a tough woman, so she took the 2 kids and she came to South Africa. And it was an interesting story because she met someone that is now related to me, and she asked, do you know a Robert Geen? And she tracked him. She put the 2 children in a donkey cart and they rode, it's about 1,000 miles to a city called Rustenburg where she found him. And I don't think he really did much there. She opened a little store, and she did that her whole life, and had a 3rd child with my mother, and it was a hard life, I think. Anyway.
What is that near? Is that near any larger community?
Let me see if I have a year here.
Where your mom grew up?
My cousin.
That's okay. I was just curious if it's.
Sent me an email. She didn't put much information. I think she put more about the other grandparents from Germany. But I'll just be 1 second.
Okay.
She's got so much information. They were the grandparents, Louis and Agnes. Came to South Africa in early 1890s. And I imagine that my other grandparents probably came about the same time. And then my late mother was the daughter of Robert and Shane again, and she met my father, Alfred Levy. Their last name was Levy, L-E-V-I. We pronounce it Levy, not Levi. And they got married. I had 2 sisters, but I was a few days old when my mother died. And her sister-in-law and brother-in-law took me. They had 3 little boys, so they were happy to have a girl.
And they raised you?
They raised me. We lived in a small country town. My mother started off when she got married keeping kosher, but the meat had to come from the nearest city by train, and often the train would not stop, or it would come and the meat would be bad.
Yeah.
So she gave that up. But she still raised us. We were only 2 Jewish families by the time I was about 10. There were more, but a lot of the Jews moved to the city as soon as their children got older. But we stayed there. But she raised me to be really conscious of Jewishness. And the only time we went to shul was to the nearest city, about 40 miles away, called Rustenburg, for the holidays. But I still never mix meat, milk and meat, or eat any shellfish or anything like that. So I guess she did a good job.
Did your father remarry?
he did after 6 years. He married a Jewish lady who came from France, and we think that she really just wanted to have a visa to stay in South Africa. She didn't want to go back. My two sisters, who were 6 and 8 years older than I am, lived with them, but she hated my older sister. She said when she first met them, she was about 8, she went and pushed them aside. I don't know if that was true or not. Anyway, they were shipped off to boarding school and different aunts and uncles as they grew up, so I was very fortunate that I had a very loving family. And then after high school, I moved to Johannesburg. My parents stayed in the country, and that's where I met my husband. And
Were you in college? Or
I
did you
went
get a
to
job there?
business School. My
Oh.
parents were really old-fashioned. My father never let me cut my hair till I was 18. And he said if I went to college, I'd be taking up space that a boy needed, and I would be getting married and have children anyway. So I went to business school, and I worked in a legal firm. And I
A
was
career
also-
woman, that's good.
Yeah, I was pretty mad about that.
Well,
And but I met my husband, who was at medical school, and I guess the prophecy came true because I married him. We had 5 children, and I did. Eventually, when they got older, I worked in my husband's office. I helped him, and then when the political scene started, we started getting uneasy about the political scene in South Africa, and we started talking about emigrating. And we came to New York, and we'd never been overseas. I never left the children ever. And it was cold, it was snowing, and my husband hated it. He said, I'm not living up north. And someone had given him a phone number of a doctor in Houston, and he said, get your ass on the next plane. And we don't even use that kind of language in South Africa. So we took the first plane. It was American Airline, and in fact it stopped at Dallas where it was snowing, and we had to wait to get to Houston. We didn't know, direct flights or anything. We're really grinners. Anyway, this man was wonderful, and he found positions for a lot of doctors, situated near hospitals and that. And our children always said, why did we come to this hot, ugly place?
So all 5 of them came with you?
Yes, they were. The oldest had just finished school, and then the 4 girls were still at school. My son had just started dental school in South Africa, and we were going to leave him there. And my husband came here, and he got uneasy, and he called me up and he said, bring him. And in fact, when we came, I bought a return ticket for him because he was supposed to go to the army after college. So that we just pretended he was going on vacation.
And he was okay with transferring here? Did he finish dental school?
No, he actually wanted to do law, and we told him the only country could practice the law we had in South Africa was in Holland. So then when he came here, he started law school.
Oh, okay.
So,
And I hopefully he doesn't have any regrets about that.
no, I don't think he would have been a good dentist. He doesn't like blood.
How long were you in Houston?
38 years.
Oh, wow.
And then I lived in, then the other children had married and moved away, but my son and youngest daughter were there. And then the youngest daughter's husband was transferred to Dallas, and she wanted me to come. And she found out about the legacy. So here I am, and I do love it.
Okay. What customs do you feel you brought with you when you moved to Houston from South Africa? What do you feel are South African customs specifically?
Well, the main thing I think is the eating and being more observant. My one daughter and son-in-law 3 of my daughters keep kosher, and one's a vegetarian, and my son doesn't do anything. But they really don't eat shellfish or meat and milk together, and that's
Where are the 3 middle ones? You said they're not here.
one daughter is living now in Florida, and the other two in California.
Oh.
So I travel frequently to see them.
Go from one coast to the other constant. It's not unusual these days.
I know.
Yeah. And what are they all doing?
The daughter who lives here is an attorney, but she's raising the three girls, so she's not working. I don't know if she'll go back later. And my son's an attorney. I always say, I think it's because they liked arguing with me. And one daughter is a social worker, and two are teachers.
Very
So,
good.
Yeah.
Now, since you lived in Houston, I have to ask you this, because there's always a rivalry between Houston and Dallas, especially the Jewish community, I think. But what are your impressions of Houston versus living in Dallas, the two cities, comparatively?
Well, the first thing I noticed is a ton more synagogues here than in Houston. In Houston, I belong to Beth Yeshua, and it's the largest
Yeah.
conservative congregation in the States. I think there are 2,300 families. That's one difference I noticed. And then the Jewish day school goes to 12th grade in Houston. That's the other thing. And I find out the people here, when they go out, they can't wait to get to the restaurant to go and eat a lobster or things like that. You know, you know, so that's quite a difference to me.
So how long have you been here in Dallas?
It'll be 2 years in April.
2 years. And your daughter, you said one daughter is here.
Yes.
So what do you think of this place?
It's terrific. I love it. And everyone's really nice. And, you know, when I think back I was living alone in the house for 3 years. So, and my friends were great, you know, when they were going out, they'd come and pick me up. But it's not the same, you know. It's not all the time. There's always someone here, and you know, you eat with people every night and go on outings. So.
Have you found that you have met up with some people that you once knew previously, or not so much? No.
Some of my friends from Houston have been to visit. In fact, the one couple, she wanted to move into independent living. Her husband wouldn't even look. And then when they came here and he saw what it was like, he agreed. And they subsequently moved into one in Houston because their daughters lived there. So.
As far as Jewish life, have you gotten involved in some things here in Dallas yet? Or is it too soon?
Not a whole lot. I go to synagogue. I go to Nishmat Am because I'm friendly with Ann Donald, Ann Setley, and that's where she goes. So I go with her on Saturday mornings, and then Friday afternoon they have services here, and I go to that. So I'm actually going more here than I was going in Houston. So that's. And then there's a lot of things, you know, Torah study, Chabad rabbi comes, I usually go to that, and lunch and learn with one of the rabbis. So I'm actually more involved here.
When you were in Houston, did you work at all, or were you a stay-at-home mom?
I worked in my husband's office.
Oh, that's right. Okay. And how many years were you there, would you say, working?
I think it was about 28 probably, but I didn't start immediately, but then he found things weren't running well in his office. But you know, it was easy because I could go out and pick the kid up from school or whatever, and you know, run back to the office.
Do you think that he found fulfillment as a doctor in Houston?
He found what?
Was it a good choice for him to move to Houston? You said he had a connection there to set up practice in Houston.
Well, he had this connection, and this is a little side issue. The doctor who was finding and helping all the South African doctors came from Canada. He told the story that as a child, before World War II, his father's sister and brother-in-law, he brought them out to Canada with a child. And the brother-in-law was unhappy, and he said, I'm going back to Germany. The father went down on his hands and knees and he said, please, I beg you, leave your wife and child here. And he would not. And they were wiped out. So he felt he was really helping us. And he helped a lot of the doctors in Houston. He was wonderful.
How important was Israel to you or your family growing up?
Well, I I think the South African Jewish congregation is much smaller than here. Used to donate more money than the US, and it was very important. When the six-day war broke out, there my son was, I think, 18. He went over to volunteer, and my 4 girls all did the one-year program, college program in Israel. And
Who did they do it through? What organization?
I don't know. They went to Hebrew University.
Okay.
I don't think it was through any organization. I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay. So they're pretty Zionist in their thinking and
Oh, yes.
and beliefs.
Yes.
And now, how do you feel?
I still feel very strongly. I'm just nervous when at this time, when any of the family are going. I've got a sister-in-law who emigrated to Israel, and my husband had 4 sisters, so we all started leaving South Africa. 2 of them went to Australia, and 1 to New Zealand, and then the 4th one to Israel. And we lost 1 sister last year, but I still talk to the other 3 regularly. We keep in touch.
I was going to ask you if you still have any close friends or relatives that are still in South Africa at this point.
Only distant cousins of my husband. I think I would say 95% of the family left. I had some friends when we were leaving for Houston. They said, "You're crazy to leave, and it's hot there, and the things are so expensive. Why are you going?" And we were so grateful to be here.
How did you find the cost of living
Excuse
in
me?
Houston? How was the cost of living,
It's
do you feel,
actually less.
comparatively?
To Dallas, it's less. I found it's little things like going to the hairdresser or nail appointments. Things like that are less.
I didn't realize that.
And dental work is absolutely unbelievable.
Unless you go to Baylor Dental School.
I was threatening to do that to the one dentist. I think I felt as though I was ripped off when I came between 2 dentists, and I don't know. Now there's a new man and he's going through the same thing. And then, they did a tremendous amount of bridge work on the one side of my mouth. And then I've got another bridge. They told me that there's decay. At that time, my daughter said, "Go for a second opinion," and she fixed me up with someone. And he took his own x-rays, and he said he didn't see anything.
You have to be careful.
I know. And then I found it even, I went to a retina specialist 2 weeks ago, and he said, "You need eye surgery." My daughter-in-law's an optometrist, so I was in Houston last week, and she really did a very thorough exam, referred me to my old ophthalmologist, and there was no discussion of any surgery.
Good.
I think Dallas is more money hungry as far as I can tell, really.
I don't know. Growing up, it wasn't. I'm from here. I don't think it was.
You what?
I'm from here, and I didn't feel it growing up, but things change, so.
I don't know. Now I've sort of got this feeling of mistrust with the medical and dental care, which is not a good thing.
No. What, if anything, do you miss about South Africa?
It was a very pleasant life and very easy. We had many, they were called servants there, paid servants, So we had a nanny and a cook and a lady who came to wash and iron and a man who did the floors and the garden. So we were pretty spoiled. In fact, when my daughters came here, they said they'll never marry a South African boy. They're not trained to help at all. No one is. I've never ironed in my life.
It's okay. Did you eventually get your citizenship here?
We did.
Okay. What was that process like?
Well, it was very onerous. Even the application to get out of South Africa was a huge, big thing. Because everyone was trying to leave. We kept calling the American embassy, and we couldn't get through. They didn't answer. So we went down. My husband took a day off work. And when we got there, they said, "Sorry, you need to call for an appointment." So there was an old-fashioned phone booth in the corner at the embassy. So we went there and called it. We could hear it ringing, and they didn't answer it. So we sat down again, and the door opened, and one lady just interviewed someone. My husband grabbed my arm and pulled me in, and he shot in. And he met this lady. She had a sore throat. So he looked at her and her throat, and I think he used a spoon. Didn't have anything with him. And he prescribed her some medicine, and she pushed our papers through. I always felt God wanted us to come. Mm-hmm. And it was a big job, because he had to fill in all, for 7 of us, each paperwork, and then where did our parents come from, and I remember my dad was from Minx or Dwinks, we just couldn't remember everything, but I said, I hope they never ask us again. So, and then everyone the adults had to come with chest x-rays. My husband came a month ahead to register the doctors. There was a closing date. And the whole plane was full of doctors. They each had an x-ray, which they never looked at when they got here, which was funny.
I don't know why they even require it, I guess. I don't know. But what does it feel to you emotionally to be a U.S. citizen?
Oh, we were really happy and thankful to be here, especially now. Things after we left steadily got worse and worse. Mm-hmm.
Can you think of anything you might change if you had a chance?
Change where? Here?
Anything, your whole process of growing up, leaving, being in Houston, being here, anything at all you would change?
I don't think so. No? It's odd, because I never ever thought I'd leave South Africa, and I never thought I'd ever leave Houston.
You were in Houston longer than... Were you there longer than you had lived in South Africa, right? Yeah.
Yes.
How old were you when you left South Africa?
I'm just trying to work out. My son was 18, 23. I was about 42, I think.
Oh, okay.
Or younger. No, I was around about 42, I think.
So I'm glad you have no regrets.
No.
And we're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I think that's about all. I hope it's not boring to
No, not at all. Thank you, Eve.
Thanks very much.
We'll get it processed for you.